Get started. I see a lot of you, I've recognized some of your names from some of my instruction sessions, but my name is Marissa Crying. I'm the instruction coordinator and assessment librarian. I'm happy to have you guys all here. So if you don't mind me asking, what citation styles are you using for your classes right now?
For our business class, we've been using APA.
Okay, APA. What about some other?
In my college writing class, we've been using MLA.
Okay. Is anyone using Chicago? That's like a little rare outlier.
No.
No, nobody's using Chicago. I always say that. I was a history major. We're one of those rare outliers that uses Chicago. Everybody always gets super freaked out by them. We always have footnotes, and everybody always throws people for a loop. So I'm going to put 2 links into the chat. And the first link is going to be our citation homepage for the library. So I highly recommend you guys bookmark this. It has all the citation guides for MLA, APA, and Chicago style. And then I'm going to put a link in, so I have just a quick activity for you guys to do, and you guys can tell me your professors, so I can send this to them to show that you guys were here for extra credit. Those are the 2 links. So we're going to start. So like I said, my name is Marissa, and I'm happy to hear that a lot of you are using MLA and APA. I will admit those are the ones that are used the most. So just a little review. So a citation is a way of getting credit to an individual that you use to support your research. So if you get a fact from anything, a book, a website, a newspaper, if that is not something that you thought of yourself, or you had to read about it or anything like that, it has to have a citation. If you do not have a citation, it is plagiarism, and plagiarism is very bad. We do not want to do that. So you always have to have a citation. And in college, it's just, we call it, you need to just, it's the polite way is to attribute where you get your ideas from. So that is the citation, and a citation's style simply dictates the information necessary for a citation and how that information is ordered, as well as punctuation and formatting. And there's little quirks for each one, but they largely use the same parts. They just rearrange them differently. So at Loras College, the most common citation styles are APA, MLA, and Chicago Turabian, and you guys are all using APA and MLA. And I will talk a little bit about Chicago Turabian. So these are kind of breakdowns. So APA, you use it for education, psychology, the sciences, and business. MLA is largely used for languages and literature and philosophy. Chicago is used for business, especially economics. A lot of other businesses use APA, but there are a couple different branches of business that do use Chicago. And Turabian is business, history, and music. And Chicago and Turabian are almost identical, so we'll be talking about them together. So those are the citation styles that we commonly use here. So then we are going to talk about, next thing we're going to talk about is in-text citation. So for APA citation, you can simply do an in-text citation after you have a claim or a fact. So if I had a claim or a fact from a book, the author is right here, so it's Oshinkai, and then I put a comma, and then I put 2005, and it's all in parentheses. So I have a fact, I put the in-text citation, and then I will have the part in my reference list that has out the whole citation. But the in-text citation is used to show where you got that, and so then they can look at your reference list to know that is exactly where you got that fact or claim. And it is very similar for MLA, so you can do it 2 ways. So you could say the author's last name, the fact or claim, and the page number. So you could say Oshinkai developed this argument and have the page number in quotations at the end, or I could simply do like APA citation and have the author and the page name. So like I could just put she developed this argument, and then at the end I could put Oshinkai 67 and have the page number. Does that make sense to everyone? So you have to, for MLA and APA, you have to have an in-text citation and then a link in the reference list. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Chicago. I mean, unless you're a history major or getting specifically into economics, I don't know a lot of people who use it. Chicago, we're going to talk about book elements, but Chicago does not use in-text citation. We use footnotes, so it's a little bit different. So for the book elements, so we're going to start talking about the citation. So citations. So for book elements, you're going to need the author, the title, you're going to need the publication date, you're going to need the publisher. So for my example, I'm using David M. Oshinsky, Polio, an American Story. The publication date is 2005, and the publisher is Oxford University Press, and the city is New York. So we take all those elements and we kind of put them together to make a citation. So for APA, you're always going to have the author with last name, first initial. They do not use first names in APA, followed by a period. The publication date is next, and it's always in parentheses, followed by a period. Then the title is italicized, also followed by a period. Then you have the city, state, and the publisher. So this is how it looks like with all the information. So I have my author, so I have him inverted last name first with his initials. Then I have 2005 in parentheses with a period. And then I have the title of the book italicized, so I have Polio, an American Story. The other thing you'll notice for APA is that the titles are in sentence case, which means only proper nouns and the first letter of the first word is capitalized. So MLA and Chicago do it differently, but APA is always sentence case. And that is something that your professors are experts and they might easily catch on. So always make sure if you're using APA to check the sentence case of the title and make sure it's only the first letter of the first word and then proper nouns. Then you have the city, state, and publisher. So I have New York, New York with colons and the Oxford University Press. So that is an APA book. So as you can see for MLA, we take the similar elements, but we kind of put them into what the style wants. So for MLA, you have author, so you have the last name, first name, followed by a period. The title is again italicized. Largely titles are italicized, except for article titles, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then you also have a period, then you have the publisher, and then the publication date. So here is that same book done in MLA or APA style. So I have my last name, so Oshinsky, and then David M. with a comma after his last name. Polio, an American Story is italicized, followed by a period. And then one thing ML likes to do for like well-known publishers like Oxford University Press or Harvard University Press, they don't put the city and they just put UP for University Press. So I have Oxford UP, comma 2005, period. So those kind of look similar. They have all the same elements, but they're kind of rearranged a little bit different. Each citation has like their own little niche or what they like to have it look like. Now Chicago kind of comes in out of left field because Chicago likes to do footnotes. And I'm going to quickly show you guys how to look at a footnote. So if you ever have to use Chicago, sorry, that definitely went to the wrong page. If you ever have to use Chicago, all you're going to do is put your cursor between the last word and the last period. You're going to put it right here at the end of the sentence. And then all you do, so if you're at home, you go to reference, and then you do insert footnote. So it inserts that little one, and then you come all the way at the bottom, and you have all that information down there. So you put the citation down there. So people, sometimes I've had students come to me, they're like, I have to use Chicago, and I just don't know how to insert a footnote. Word now has made it so easy. You just go to reference, and you insert a footnote. So there's nothing to be scared of. I personally love Chicago Turabian because I'm a history major and that's what I grew up with. What I used in college, and I can understand why it's a little different. It can be a little freaky at first. So, and Chicago does have that footnote. So as you can see, Chicago has, so it has the author, so first name, last name for the footnote, and everything is separated by a comma instead of a period. So you have the title of the book, which is once again italicized. Then you have the publisher. So you have New York, and so they want the city, and then the Oxford University Press. So New York and Oxford University Press are separated by colons. And then you have comma 2005. All that is in the parentheses, followed by a comma and then the page number. So whichever footnote you have, unless you have a website, you will have a page number. So books, ebooks, and electronic articles, which are what you guys call database articles, will all have a page number. As you can see, the Chicago bibliography looks really similar. It just takes away the parentheses and puts in periods. It can get confusing. But the big thing to remember is that the Chicago Turabian footnote largely has commas, and the bibliography largely has periods, and it also inverts the last name. So I would have Ostinkai David M. period. I have the title italicized with a period, and then I have the publisher, New York, Oxford University Press, comma 2005. Another thing to note, when you do a bibliography or a reference list, they're interchangeable. You do need to alphabetize your entries. So that's another thing. When you get done, alphabetize all your entries and you will be good. So does everybody kind of understand a book? A book is pretty simple. It usually has 4 elements and you kind of just move them around. Does anyone have any questions about books before I move on to ebooks? All right, so we're going to talk about ebooks. So the ebook elements are very similar to books, but we just add one. So we can have the author, the title, publication date, the publisher, and then we add either a database, website, or a DOI or permalink. So this depends on what style you use. APA uses websites, and Chicago and MLA use DOI or permalink, and not all of them use a database. Emily likes to use databases. That is one thing linked. So for mine, I have Mark Shell as the author. The title is Polio and its Aftermath, Paralysis of a Culture. The publication date is 2005. And then the publisher is Harvard University Press, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Then the database is EBSCOhost eBooks. Then the website is ebscohost.com, and the permalink is that right there. I'm not going to read all that, but that is the DOI or permalink. So how do we arrange those? So for an ebook, you again have the author, last name, first initial, period. Publication date, the same in parentheses with a period. Title, again, italicized followed by a period. But at the end, you add or retrieve from. So if you have a DOI, you would include the DOI. And if you don't have the DOI, you'll do a website. And I will show you guys where to find the DOI and permalinks in the next section. So this is how I put it together. So I have the author, Shell M period, parentheses 2005, followed by a period. Again, remember that I have the title of the book in sentence case, so only polio is capitalized because there are no proper nouns. That is followed by a period, and then you have retrieve from the website. So it's a pretty simple citation. All we really added was the website where you can retrieve it from. So for MLA, they add a couple things in here. They add a database and a permalink. So again, you have the author. Last name, first name, period, title, italicized period, publisher, period, and then publication date, period. That's the same as a book, but now you add the database. So a lot of our books are from EBSCOhost, EBSCOhost ebook collection, and then you add the DOI or permalink. So this is what it would look like. So I have Shell Mark, period, polio and its aftermath, the paralysis of a culture. So this is where it kind of follows the capitalization pattern of the author. So in titles, largely everything is capitalized except like and or things like that. You have a period, then you have the Harvard UP again, where we are abbreviating University Press, comma 2005, very similar to a book. But then you add the database, which is EBSCO eBooks collection, followed by the permalink. And another thing you will notice in these is that the second line of every citation needs to be indented. So if it's in your bibliography reference list or works cited page, the second line will need to be indented. And then we have the fun Chicago Tribune footnote. So everything is again separated by a comma. And then we have the title, and it has the city, the publisher, and publication date is again in parentheses, followed by the page number. And then you have the DOI or permalink at the end. And as you can see, everything is separated by a comma or a parenthesis with a period at the end. So this is what it would look like. So you have the author, Mark Schell, Polio and Aftermath. So it's like how he would have it published in his book. It's not a sentence case. Then you have the publisher, so Cambridge, Massachusetts, Harvard University Press, comma, 2005. Those are all in parentheses, followed by another comma. And then you have 89. So again, for the footnote, you do need a page number. And then it is followed by the DO or permalink. And as you can tell, this actually, I accidentally did this, but in footnotes, you do not need to indent the second line. Some professors indent the second line, some don't. It just depends on how they're feeling. But this is, I usually don't indent the second line. I was just doing it as a habit, I guess. So that is Chicago Tribune ebook. And then this is what it looks like in the bibliography. So it largely has the same information. We just swipe periods and then we get rid of the parentheses. So this is what it would look like. So you have author, last name, first name, period. Title is italicized, followed by a period. City and publisher separated by a colon. And that's one's followed by a comma with the publication date. And then you have a period, and then you have the DOI or permalink. So you have Schell, Mark, Polio and its aftermath, the paralysis of a culture, and that is italicized. And again, it is in the case that the author has it, so they capitalize the majority of the words for a title of a book. You have the publisher, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Harvard University Press, comma 2005. Because it is not a footnote, you do need to have no page number, so it's just a period, and then it is followed by the permalink. So those are books and ebooks. Ebooks, the only thing you basically add is the database, and then either the website or the permalink or the DOI, which I will show you in the next one. So am I going too fast? Is that making sense to everyone? Or does anyone have any questions? All right, so next we are going to talk about electronic article elements. So this is largely if you're using scholarly articles from a database, this will be what you will be citing. I know a lot of you are encouraged to use articles from a database, so this is one that I would really pay attention to. And there is a few more elements in it. So I'm going to introduce the elements. So you have authors again, the title, publication date, journal title, volume and issue number, page number, DOI or permalink. So for my example, I have my authors, Peter Abbey and Christian S. Ben. Title, Stop Live Vaccines After Disease Eradication May Increase Mortality. Publication date is January 2020. Journal title is Vaccine. Volume is 38 and the issue number is 1. And then you always need to know the page span. So that is 10 through 14. Then you have the DOI or permalink. And I'm going to show you guys how you find all this information for electronic articles. So the first thing, I have the link right here. So I'm going to talk first. If you go to Laura's College Library's homepage, which I highly recommend that you guys do bookmark to have it saved for your future research. You want to get to the citation, you can go under our quick links to citation help, or you can go under here to citation guides. And that's how you can access this site. Again, I gave you that first link. I just wanted to let you know how you do that again. So to get all that information I talked about for an electronic article citation, so if I look right here, I have my title right here. I have my author. I have my source, so this is the journal. I have the date, then the volume. The issue number is usually in parentheses, followed by the page span. And if you are looking for a DOI or permalink, it might say electronic access, and it has all the DOI right here. If you don't see a DOI in EBSCOhost databases, and also when I'm talking about databases, EBSCOhost is not your database. It is a server. So right now, I am on EBSCOhost server, but I'm searching MLA International Bibliography. We do have a lot of databases from EBSCOhost, so you need to look above the search bar to find out what database you're searching. And also for the permalink, all you do is click right here if you don't see that DOI. And it seems to be taking a little bit. And of course, I just love it when it does that. So you would click the permalink and it would give you the permalink up here, but obviously EBSCOhost is having a little bit of problems. So this is the article I found. So I have my authors that I found right here. My source information is right here. Then to find that DOI or permalink, if you guys use Academic Search Complete. So if you've had me for your Engaging Differences instruction session, I talk about Academic Search Complete. So again, remember, I'm not searching EBSCOhost, I'm searching Academic Search Complete. And then also you can look at the DOI right here and find that right there. It's under an Academic Search Complete, it's largely under the ISN number. And then I'm gonna quickly open up another article. So if you guys use JSTOR, which I also talked about. So this is JSTOR. It looks different than EBSCOhost databases like Academic Search Complete, MLA Bibliography, Business Source Premier. Kind of know it's JSTOR. I'm just going to do a quick search. So with these results, I look at this. So JSTOR is another one of our databases that I recommend using in academic search. I recommend using Engaging Differences. I have Academic Search Complete on the brain, and it does not have DOIs. It has stable URLs or remote access URLs. So that is what you would grab from JSTOR. That, and some of the other databases also have stable URLs. So you would find in EBSCOhost, you can find those kind of down below the citation and the abstract of an article. Down here, the permalink is your best friend. You cannot find the DOI. Does that make sense for everybody? So for an electronic article, you are going to need a DOI or a permalink. Those are very important to have. So we went through all this. So we have our article and our journal title. And now we need to start putting them together. So for APA, this is going to be our formula, as you would call it. So I have my author's last name, first initial, period, publication again in parentheses, followed by a period. Now you have two titles. So the first title is the title of the article, which were those bold words in the database. So that title is just written out. And then in journal title, you italicize that. Another interesting thing about APA is they also italicize the volume number. but not the issue number, which is a little unique, and those are separated by commas. And then you have the page numbers and the DOI or permalink. So this is what it would look like with the information I have. So I have my two authors inverted with their initials, the date of publication, which is 2020, period. And remember again, the title of the article is in sentence case. So I have only capitalized proper nouns in the beginning of the sentence. And then I have the journal title italicized along with the volume. And remember, the issue is not italicized. So I have vaccine, volume 38. Issue 1 is in parentheses, followed by a comma. And then you have to have the page span. So you always have to have the page span for articles. And then you have the DOI. And for electronic and for APA, you need to have the https :/sdoi.org/ in front of the DOI. MLA does not require that. That's why I recommend you guys bookmark the citation homepage, because there's little quirks with all of these that even if you learn one citation, you really need to have, like, and you are going to another citation, it's really good to have those guides that you can just quickly pull up, especially because we include all of the commonly used citations in there really quickly. So MLA is a little different. So you have the author, last name, first name, followed by a period. Then you have the title, and the title is in quotations with a period. Only the journal title is italicized, and there's a comma, and you have the volume, and you have the issue number, followed by another comma with the publication date. You have the page span, and for MLA, you need to have PP dot. And then this one, you do have to have the database, and the database is italicized. And then you have the DOI or permalink. So this is what it would look like with my information. Another thing with MLA and Chicago and Turabian is that only the first author is inverted. The rest are listed out first name, last name. So I have AVP, comma, and Kristen S. Ben. And then I have the title of the article in quotations, and I have it back in kind of normal capitalization, no sentence case. Then I have vaccine, and you put with a comma, you have volume number 38, comma, NO period 1, comma, January 2020. You do also, you use the abbreviation for the months, you don't spell them out, comma, PP period 10 through 14. Then you have the database, which is academic search complete. And remember, it is not EBSCOhost. You need to look above at the search bar to determine what database it is. And this one, you don't need to include the HTTP in front of it. You just have DOI followed by the DOI number that we pulled from the article. So this one adds the database and adds the quotations around the title. So it is different than APA. Next, we're going to talk about a Chicago and Turabian footnote for electronic article. Again, as you can see, it largely replaces periods with commas. So I have authors, first name, last name, title, like MLA is in quotations. The journal title is italicized, followed by the volume and issue number, and those don't have anything in front of it. And the publication date is in parentheses. With a colon, you have the page number and then the DOI or permalink. The reason you have a page number with footnotes is you're telling that person exactly where to go for that fact or claim you had. So this is what it looks like. I have Peter A. Abbey and Christine S. Bean, comma, the title, which is again kind of how a normal title is, not sentence case, in quotations, followed by a comma, and then you have the title of the journal, which is 38, and excuse me, the title of the role, which is vaccine, italicized with volume or 38, and then you do have number 1 for the issue number, and then you do Jan 2020, and then you do 14, and then you do have the HTTPS in front of the DOI, and then you have that DOI there. So it starts, you do have that HTTPS :/sdoi.org. That is again back in there with a period. So this is very similar. All you really do is you invert the last name and the first name and replace things with periods. So I have the authors with only the first name, first one inverted. And then I have my title that is italicized. And it is in quote, or excuse me, sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. I have my title, which is in quotations. The journal title is italicized. And then I have the volume number, which is 38. And then I have the number 1, and I have January 2020, the page span, and the HTTPS in front of the DOI and the DOI. So that is an electronic article. Important things to know is that we do include things like the permalink, and now you would have 2 titles, which again, if we go back to look here at a database, so here is how we would find the first title, and then the title, journal title is right here. So those are the different titles. It can get a little bit confusing, and again, your databases, if you're using EBSCOhost, are above the first search bar. So it's Academic Search Complete, and you can get all the citation information right here. All right, so we went over those. So now we're going to talk about a website, and we're specifically talking about newspapers. There is other websites they can use, but we want to focus on using authoritative and reliable sources. So we're going to talk about using a newspaper, specifically the New York Times, which, side note, if you don't know, I have talked about this in a lot of my classes, that you actually have, I'm going to duplicate this. If you search New York Times in our search bar at the top, you guys actually have a site license in New York Times. So you just follow all this information right here. You click the login button and you create an account. You do have to use your Loris email, but then once you verify that account after you receive a confirmation email, you have access to New York Times. The New York Times is an excellent authoritative source if your professors are allowing you to, because remember, we want to use those good authoritative sources that are kind of neutral and biased and have a rigorous review process. So that is just simply you search New York Times at the top, and it can take you to use that New York Times site license. And these are the websites that we are going to be talking about today. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. So here are the website elements that we're going to be looking at. And this is a little less confusing than an electronic article. I know it's a lot of information coming at you, but you're going to be creating a short citation after this. And so it kind of makes more sense once you're pulling the information yourself. But the website has a little less elements. So it has the author, title, the publication date, title of the website, and the URL. So we're looking, our author is Peter S. Goodman. The title of our website is Keep Calm and Carry On, May Not Work in a Time of Pandemic. The publication date is October 4th, 2020. The title of the website is the New York Times, and there's the URL. So we're gonna start with APA. So we always have author first initial. That is one thing about APA is I love that author and the initials. Period, and then you have the publication date. So you have the year, comma, month and day. Because you are using a newspaper, you need to include that month and day in that order. And then you have that in quotation marks like the other citations. You have the title. So like a title of a journal article, it is not and it's not italicized, and you have the title of the website or the newspaper, which is italicized, and then you have the URL. So this is what it looks like. So I have Goodman P period S, and then I have 2020 comma October 4. All of that is in parentheses with a period. And then I have the title, which again, remember, is in sentence case, only proper nouns, and the beginning of the sentence is capitalized. And then I have a period at the end of that, and I have the New York Times period, and then I have retrieved from. So APA likes to use proper, like newspapers, they don't really like to use permalinks or long links like that. So you just use newyorktimes.com for that. And that is APA, and this is what MLA looks like. So we have author, the first name, last name, and then it puts in quotations the title of the newspaper article, and it is in kind of like title case, like it is on the newspaper's website. So we have that, keep calm and carry on, may not work in the time of pandemic, period, quotation. Then we have New York Times, which is italicized, and then we have the date. So they do for October. Again, they like to use those date abbreviations, 2020, period, and then you simply have the URL at the end with a retrieve from, which I apparently forgot to put there, but you do have the retrieve from on there, and I will make a note of that. So then you also have a citation, or excuse me, a footnote for Chicago and Turabian. So the footnote, you have the author, first name, last name. Remember, they just are how you normally write them, separated by commas. So you have the title and quotations. And then you have, it's separated by a comma. You have the title of the website. So New York Times, comma, October 4th, 2020. And then you have the URL. So for bibliography, you simply invert the first, the author's name, and you kind of separate everything with periods. So you have the title and quotations with a period. The title of the website is italicized with a comma, and then it has the date, and then you have the URL. So those are how to cite books, electronic or ebooks, electronic articles, and website in APA, MLA, and Chicago. And remember, Chicago has two because it has a footnote and a bibliography. But remember, it is not scary. And if you guys do ever have to use a different citation, or you're using Chicago, you can come to the library. We all have used it, and we can explain it to you. I know I've had, as a history major, we used it a lot, and I had kids from other classes who would just start freaking out about footnotes, but it's not as scary as it seems. So those are all the sources. So I do want you to go to that second link I put in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing. So that second link I put in the chat, does everyone see that?
Yes.
So go ahead and click on that, and I will click on it too. So what I want you guys to do is fill out your information. So I know that some of your professors said you would get extra credit, and all the professors that contacted me are right here. So you can put those there. I know one of you said you had two professors. So I'll put the first professor and the other one here. And if you have other, you have a different professor, just select other. I am not sharing my screen. Of course not. Did you guys all get there?
Yep.
So now that you can see my screen, so you put your name, email, your professors, you can select, I know one of you has two professors, so you can do the first professor and then put the other, or if it's other professor, put the name in, and I'll make sure that your professor gets that you are here. And then do what citation you are using for your classes. And then I have some information up here, and I want you guys to create a quick citation and put which citation you used, and then click submit. And that is all I have for you. So you guys want to finish that. And while I am having you do that, I want to talk to you about, I always say this in all my classes, us librarians, we are here to help you. We are never bothered if you want to get help from us. We are always, it's our number one job is helping students. And there are a couple ways you can do it. So on the main page, we have a Get Help section. So you click on that, and you can, first you can schedule a meeting with a librarian. So it's so easy. All you do is click meet with a librarian, and we're only meeting Zoom, which I mean makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to come to campus or anything. You just sign up. And on Mondays and Fridays, we do 9 to 4, but on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we do 9 to 9. And all you do is fill out the information. You click continue, put your email in here, and they send us a a reminder for the appointment and put it on our calendar, and we will be there. So if we go back, you can also chat with us. We are usually on chat. I mean, it's almost 6, so if one of us is here, we're usually on chat from at least 9 to 4, usually 9 to 5. You can call us, and you can also email us. So there are 4 ways to contact us, and please, especially if you're having citation help, we can help you with citation.